All right, so today we have for our second presentation of week 3 of MeadCon Online, we have Berniece Van Der Berg from Moonlight Meadery. She's going to be presenting on marketing your meadery. So really looking forward to this talk. And again, as just a casual reminder, try to keep your video off on the Zoom meeting just to help promote better internet connection so we don't have any lagging or anything like that. And if you have any questions whatsoever, you can leave them in the chat room and we'll save all the questions for the end of the presentation, but feel free to start sending in questions as the presentation is going on. So with that said, Berniece, you can take it away and do your thing.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. So nice to actually be out there connecting with you guys through all of this unprecedented times that we're in. So I'm going to get right into it, seeing that we're a little bit behind. Let me just get this up into full screen. So welcome to Guerrilla Marketing. It's a jungle out there. I want to start off right off the bat. Let's just go over really what the definition of marketing is. Marketing is every bit of contact, every bit of contact your company has with anyone in the outside world, which equals your opportunities. It includes your name of your company, your product, your service, your branding, your color, your shape of your product, your size of your product, even down to your email signature, your website, your voicemail message, your sales presentation, your social media, your follow-up, and more importantly, you. It's complex. It includes your idea of your brand, your service, your attitude, and the passion that you bring. In essence, marketing is truth made amazing. However, we do sell not only the sizzle, but the steak. So Guerrilla Marketing 101. So this slide, I'm just going to present to you 4 simple ideas of the kinds of marketing campaigns that would qualify as guerrilla marketing. For those of you who do not recognize that first image on the left-hand side, this is an image of Andre the Giant. We certainly have limited time tonight, so I'm not really going to get into the nitty-gritty of Andre the Giant, but just in a nutshell, an artist student came up with an idea of how to market his artistry by adopting Andre the Giant, who was this massive 7-foot, 500-pound wrestler. There was definitely a little bit of a political angle to this. He got into trouble because he was obviously marketing something that he didn't own, and he had to kind of change the image of Andre. And he came up with his face and the word obey. But this particular marketing campaign is a very, very, very good example of how something really simple can go viral. Now, when you think about this, it was way in the days before social media. There was no Facebook, Twitter, anything like that. And the medium that they used was just by plastering posters all over the city walls that they could find. Now, again, I would kind of caution on this because you got to look at the legal ramifications, and they certainly have run into trouble over the years. But a simple little campaign like this was an idea that took off and went worldwide. They've actually been featured and shown as backdrops in several high-end movies. A simple idea that went viral before the days of going viral. So that's one example. This is another one where imagery, again, plays a really, really big role. It says a lot. It's something that has a huge impact. The next one is Monkey Shoulder, which is a campaign that we came across. Michael and I were in Florida covering an event, and they have an annual sort of huge art festival kind of show every year in Florida. And this was one of the liquor promotions that was going on. Now, again, obviously this particular example cost money. There's no ways that they could do something this fantastic that had such impact without spending some money. But again, just a good example of something really out of the box that has a great impact. And something as simple, way more cheaper, just something as simple as product sticker placement on strategically placed glass doors. And these are all examples of what we refer to as guerrilla marketing. Now, if anybody had said to me, oh, gee, marketing, that's easy. I kind of laugh when marketing folks and advertising folks come in. I get bombarded every day. And the first thing they ask me is, what is your advertising budget? Well, this is my response. Because you know what? We started in our garage and our footprint is now in 43 states. We've shipped to Australia, Japan, Hong Kong, Canada, China, and my challenge has not changed. My budget for marketing has not grown. So I've had to learn the hard way of how to do more with less. And that can be extremely difficult when, as a small business, you're trying to grow, you're trying to get your brand out there and have brand recognition, and you really don't have an assigned budget to work with. So as most of you know, and those of you who don't, my husband, Michael, and I started this business. And Michael's a pretty hard taskmaster. And he expects a lot of stern return on investment when it comes to spending a dime. So when people approach me and they want me to spend actual cash dollars going out the door with no guaranteed results, that's a pretty hard sell for us. So when we talk about guerrilla marketing, what it doesn't mean is investing a ton of money. But having said that, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have to spend money. And I'm going to share with you a couple of things that certainly are free. And if you've never utilized them or taken advantage of them, you can certainly try. But guerrilla marketing as a whole doesn't mean that you're always going to get everything for free. You are going to have to invest some money, but it just doesn't mean that you have to invest a ton. So the goal of guerrilla marketing is to spend the least amount that you have to in order to get the bigger, best impact. I guess that would, in a nutshell, is how I would coin it. When you think about marketing, it's a process. It's a procedure. There are steps involved. It is not a single event, although one single event may reward you with a lot of result. But guerrilla marketing has a beginning, it has a middle, but it has no end. The sad news tonight, folks, is that your job is never done. It's an ongoing process. So having said that, I'm going to share some free is always good, sites, tools, suggestions that you may want to try out. The first is your local business chamber or the Better Business Bureau. Now, personally, I can share with you that the only reason we belong to the chamber is just to be listed on the town site for tourism and any new businesses coming into town. To be quite honest with you, we do host several events during the year where we feel that reaching out to the local business community and just having a local awareness is important. But quite frankly, the rewards and the results that I've gotten from belonging to the chamber, honestly, every time we do an event, I'll end up getting a whole slew of an onslaught, actually, of 100 small businesses that want something from me and not anything that they can do for me. That's just my personal opinion. There's Bing Places for Business. If you haven't tried that, you may want to. Yahoo, certainly. Google is a big one. Apple Maps, MapQuest, Yelp. And I'm going to stop on this one and I'll share my experience with Yelp. I will never, ever do business with Yelp. It is a platform that does not allow you to have a direct access to the customer that's lodging a complaint. We did have one person that put out a complaint, and we looked back on our video footage. We saw that the person hadn't even visited our business. And when we looked at their profile, it was pretty obvious that this person had an experience of doing nothing but negative reviews for every business they came across in their life. And when we reached out to the management and said, look, here's the proof this person has never visited us, they refused to take the bad review down. They've assured us since then that they've changed their process. But quite frankly, I've told them to take me off their contact list because I'll never do business with them. They keep calling me every month and telling me, well, you've had 100,000 clicks on your link. You could do so much more. And my response to them is, well, if I'm doing so well without paying you, why would I pay you? So that's always something to keep in mind. Another platform is Manta. TripAdvisor works very well for us. The old yellow pages, obviously that's digital now, or any free listings. Google My Business. If you aren't using this, you definitely want to do that because you want to understand where your customer experience is coming from. You have to kind of put yourself in your customer's shoes to see how your business is being reflected out there. We have hosted meetups. We've had some really, really successful meetups. We once had a woman from Boston who organized a meetup, and we had, probably 200 people turn up. So they can take a lot of time and effort, but they certainly can have results. Conduct workshops, that's always an option. Become a technical skill or expert. Collaborate in your industry. We certainly enjoy doing those. Fusion affiliation. So the word fusion affiliation is kind of like a business to business reach out. For example, here in New Hampshire, we have the New Hampshire Winery Association Passport Book, which is a winery trail. To be quite honest, again, like the chamber, I can't really personally say that I have found a lot of personal satisfaction or reward from belonging to the association. They were quite willing for us to join them in the beginning because they really didn't know what we were doing. And they didn't understand what we were doing. And they kind of thought, oh, okay, anybody who pays fees, we'll let them in. But once we became the largest producing, or actually long before that, once we kind of proved that we were real competitors in their market, the things that they focus on with training and that kind of thing really doesn't relate to us. So it's not all inclusive. The only real reason we belong to them is because the Passport Book is such a successful tool in tourism. Free research, always good. Free is good. You certainly want to research your company on Glassdoor. And when it comes to Glassdoor, you really want to focus on what ex-employees put out there, because that can certainly bring your ratings down. This is a space that you can review your competitors. Google Alerts proves very informative for us. It kind of puts us ahead of the game if there's anything happening that we're not aware of. Google Analytics, I find extremely informative, definitely a benefit to us. Things like giveaways. I can share with you that when we won the Eastern Regional Sam Adams competition, they run a philanthropic effort where they reach out to small businesses and they try to help small businesses get a start. When we won that and we got some time with Jim Cook, we were invited to participate in one of their small business reach outs to the local communities. And the best piece of advice that I had for these small businesses was, you need to be prepared and you need to plan and budget for the fact that you're going to give more giveaways than you ever thought possible, whether it's in the form of samplings, tastings, gift certificates, charitable events. I think that's a huge nugget that a lot of people don't plan for. But things like sneak previews work. People love those. People love to feel special. blogs, case studies, white papers, ebooks, videos, trainings, demos, and obviously samples and trials are all things that could possibly work for you. One of the ones that has worked a great deal for us and provides a way for us to track and monitor the success of our campaigns is we just give a $5 giveaway. If you visit us, if you're part of our newsletter or one of our Mead clubs, even on our website, we have an app that will randomly just select people to say, hey, you visited us today, here's a $5 off on your next visit. So you don't plan it so that they get it on the day, but you certainly want to give them incentive to come back. The other thing that's worked very well for us is entering competitions. And this is definitely a little outdated. I should have looked at this before I put this in there. But consistently, Moonlight Meadery has won medals in a professional role ever since we've entered. And that's something that we can take as a tidbit and use in our marketing. Because in marketing, you always want to say how you differentiate yourself, how you're better, and what's the reason that people are even going to consider looking at you. What is there that you have succeeded in doing that makes you so special? Our latest wins, I've certainly been very excited about because it's definitely gotten me press coverage that I couldn't succeed at before. We were rated in the top 15 top honey beverages in the world. The world, that's huge. And now I even have Forbes magazine talking to me. So establishing your credibility, your street cred out there is extremely important. However, be very careful. You need to research and be very careful about the competitions that you enter. They need to matter. They need to have credibility. I had a customer come in once and tell me that he found my product on a cruise ship. I was very intrigued because I've been trying to sell to cruise ships for years and haven't been successful. And when I looked into it, I discovered that we had entered a Florida fair festival that ran a competition. And the extra product they sold to a cruise ship illegally. So be very careful. You certainly don't want to be entering competitions where everybody's a winner and just because you enter, you win a medal. You need to be careful on a professional basis that the choices you make matter and that they're going to matter in the markets that you work in. For example, me saying, we've consistently won medals in the International Mesa Cup ever since we began, may not mean something to a distributor in Seattle who says, I don't even know what the Mesa Cup is. So be strategic, choose wisely. It costs a lot of money to enter your product, and you certainly don't want the market to be flooded with free product that you're giving out that you never authorized. Wikipedia contributions, while again, perhaps not being totally professionally accredited, is certainly an avenue that you can pursue. It does kind of establish yourself as an industry expert. You want to try to be the voice of your industry. You want to be an accredited voice that people know, trust, and go to in the industry. When it comes to public relations, here's some suggestions that I have. If you've never heard of HARPO, it's an acronym for Help a Reporter Out. I've been pretty successful at utilizing them to get our products into magazines and gift guides, blogs, that kind of thing. It can be a little overwhelming. They sometimes send you like 6 emails a day and they tend to be repetitive. So just heads up, but they can certainly be a tool that you can use. Speaking engagements, I like to joke and say I'm always happy to pump Michael out when it comes to speaking engagements and media meetups. I can't say I've really had a lot of success with media meetups, probably being recognized as an industry expert for a huge Facebook conference was the most success that I ever had with that. But again, it depends on the market that you're in and how desperate your local media is for news and for contributions. So certainly try it out. But more importantly, I think you need to focus on your customer love. You want to keep enticing your existing customers. Input, survey participation, engagement, previews, VIP access, always focusing on why that particular customer is special to you and why you so appreciate their business. Here's a fact for you. You should be spending at least half of your marketing efforts on existing customers. It costs you way more, dollar for dollar, to gain a new customer than taking care of your existing customer. So that's just a good, even, round strategy to employ. We want to expand our reach while building credibility. And one of the best ways to do that is to share costs with others. While free is good, if you can share the costs with others, that helps spread the load. A direct business to each other, what we call fusion, like your local winery, brewery, cidery, trail, always helps. And again, like I said, we use the New Hampshire Winery Association for that, and we also have a beer trail. Some insight for you. So think about this. Mediocre marketing with commitment works better than brilliant marketing without. Any marketing, advertising, I've been in advertising for over 20 years now. My experience when I was in South Africa, I worked for one of the largest Southern Hemisphere newspapers. And the one thing that they will always tell you is that consistency is what works. Investing in marketing earns more than spending. There is a difference. If you just willy-nilly pick campaigns, platforms, tools to use, and you're not being strategic about it, and you don't consider it an investment long-term, you're just going to be letting go of dollars going out the door. Consistency breeds familiarity, which breeds confidence, which attracts buyers. It costs 6 times more on average to sell to a new customer. You need an arsenal, which is an array of equipment necessary to wage and win battles. And yes, it can be overwhelming. So some free or low-cost high-tech tools that I will share with you is Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, obviously anything that's free. Ripple is a mobile slideshow video tool. Promo.com is a customizable video promotion tool that I really actually like using. My only challenge that I have with it is they don't provide you enough customization, and it can get pricey. I typically don't, and I certainly have tried them over the years, any platform where they try to pressurize you to committing to a year of a monthly fee, typically I have found that that doesn't work for me, because I may have one month where I need to make 10 videos and another month where I don't. So I would just say, just ask, be aware of that when you sign up for any of these tools that you do pay for, because you don't want to be stuck paying a monthly fee where you don't feel you're actually able to use that tool to your advantage for your business. Certainly email marketing tools is a big staple of ours. We've used Constant Contact, MailChimp. Currently we use Square. Fiverr, for those of you who don't know what Fiverr is, check it out. It's a platform that you get an introductory trial, so to speak, of experts in any given field. There's just thousands of professionals out there who are willing to maybe do a small project for you for a small amount, a small fee. Just be careful with those because it is a hook. And if you think you're going to get a whole campaign done or a huge project done by paying somebody minimally, that's not exactly how it works. They basically just want you to kind of feel somebody out for their expertise, and kind of test them out a little bit before you commit to a bigger project. Sorry, I seem to have gone back there. Let me get back to where I was. So when you talk about content, we talk about substance, style and substance. Here's the difference. Style is content, but it's substance that sells. You do need both. I'm going to share with you what I consider to be a good guerrilla arsenal in a nutshell. Think about a personality, a profile of who you as a marketer need to be. And certainly if you're going to be engaged in guerrilla warfare when it comes to marketing, these are all of the things that you need to pay attention to. So your secret weapon is commitment. If you're going to commit to a campaign, you have to be prepared to stay in it long enough to ensure that it works. Your personality is going to have to be patience. Your marketing, I highly advise that you need a minimum of 20, an assortment of 20 weapons. And I'll share mine with you later, and I certainly have more than 20. Your format, again, has to be consistency. Your finances, wise investment in marketing, that has to directly have to be tied to sales. If your marketing is not proving a return on investment, that what you're spending, you're getting a minimum of double that coming back, you're wasting your money. Your energy has to be prior and subsequent to the sale. Remember, follow-up is everything. Your operation is customer convenience. You've got to make it as easy for the customer as possible. With the explosion of social media, technology, people of all ages out there want convenience. If what you're asking them to do is not as easy as clicking a button, you're going to lose them because their attention span is so little these days that if you don't do it instantly, you've lost them. Your creative message always has to be amazing. Your chore is measurement. This is, every job has a downside to it. And with marketing, that's the chore that you have. Your job is not only in creating these fantastic campaigns and marketing that's going to produce results, but you have to be able to track and monitor those results. Your relationship, customer involvement, and other business dependents. Your arsenal is going to be an armament of easy to use technology. And again, I've shared some with you and I'll share more with you. Your goal is to gain customer consent. Your reason is your content. Why are you doing what you're doing? What is it that you have to sell? Your never-ending task is to augment. You're always learning, adjusting, tweaking. And the extra is just implement. So here's typically some of the main things that should be included in your marketing plan. First of all, what is your business? What is your core business? I remember one of the TV ads that had a big impact on me in my early days of marketing. In South Africa, there was an ad that ran, and it was really at the forefront of when technology began to explode in the corporate world. And so picture this, there's a scene of a corporate meeting, a huge table with at least 20 people sitting around it, all in their business suits, their power suits, and everybody's talking. And the chairman comes up and they all go around the table talking about all the wonderful technical advances that they've made. And by the time they get around the circle and they come back to the CEO, he kind of looks confused and he says, wait a minute, what was our core business again? because we've gotten so involved, necessarily, of course, to stay with the times, but our time is so sucked with all of this new technology that we lose track of what our core business is. So you need to understand what is your core business. You may use all of these technological tools, but you can't lose track of what your core business is. What is your positioning in the market? What are the benefits of your product? Are you competitive? Who are your competitors? What are your advantages? How do you differentiate yourself? What are your fears? Where are your weaknesses? And what is your goal? Very simple points, but all necessary for a good marketing plan. As small businesses, and particularly us in the mead industry, we've not only tried to start small businesses, but we've been trying to build a whole new category. And that's very difficult to do when you're dealing with the big houses in the alcohol beverage industry who've been dominating the market for years. And there's no way that we can compete with their marketing and advertising budgets. So what is our advantage as small businesses trying to promote the mead industry? We can occupy smaller niches and dominate them. So one of my goals when we came to market, and everybody told us we were crazy, we said we want to go mainstream. That kind of sounds like this is a little bit of an oxymoron, but it really isn't. Because with the mead category, typically there was only one mead out there, which was Chaucer's, that was literally distributed everywhere. And to me, one of the biggest successes that I feel when I go out into the territories and the markets in the United States is I see mead categories. I see retailers dedicating actual shelf space to the mead category. And that to me is a success, because one of my goals going to market was to say, okay, we have wine, we have beer, we have cider, and we have mead. And I think to me, I'm seeing some success out there. So some secrets to share with you. And again, some of this may just be reiterating what I've gone over, but again, marketing, you need to hear something more than once. You need commitment, investment, consistency, confidence, patience, an assorted arsenal. Remember, a minimum of 20, subsequent profit, customer convenience, amazement, measurement. You've got to have that return on investment, involvement, follow-up, independence. You need an armory of technological tools, customer consent, and content style. So here, in a nutshell, is what you need. So now I'm going to share Moonlight Meadery's marketing mix with you. This is what we do, and this is basically in my wheelhouse what I have to deal with. We do a newsletter, and I will tell you that we will do it anywhere from monthly or numerous times in a week. It all just depends what's going on. We do have 3 mead clubs, an exclusive Lunar Society club. We do meetups. We obviously have a website. I cannot believe how many companies are out there that do not have a website. It floors me. We utilize Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, all the usual social media programs. We do events on site. And let me just get out of here. There seems to be a glitch on these ones. Give me just a minute. We do events off-site. We certainly support our charities, and we definitely like to support industry collaborations. Obviously, being in the alcohol industry, we can't give away free alcohol. So typically, when charitable organizations approach us, the first thing they ask for is, oh, can you give us a gift basket with your wines? No, I cannot do that. However, what I can do, and what I'm willing to do, and what I'm happy to do, is to give away gift certificates, because it's a win-win. It's a true partnership. If I'm just giving away free product, if I keep giving away free product, I'm going to be out of business. But if I give away a gift certificate and I tie it back to the person coming back to my establishment, that's a win-win. Tours and tastings on site, obviously we're not doing that right now with COVID. To share with you, our tasting room contributes about 25 to 30% of our annual income. So this has been a huge loss for us during COVID. We were very lucky and fortunate that we were approved to have an outdoor patio during COVID. And that certainly helped to stem the loss that we had. It certainly doesn't bring in the same amount of money, but it certainly helped. It turned out to be a silver lining for us. For 2 years, I'd been trying to do the outdoor patio, and the town had been giving me some difficulties, but because of COVID, they relaxed their regulations. So that's definitely turned out to be a silver lining, and we've reached a target market that we didn't have before. Not sure what's going to happen going forward with us having to move things indoors. Again, these are all challenges that we're going to have to face on how to deal with that. But certainly during COVID, that turned out to be a silver lining for us. Tastings offsite, obviously we aren't doing those anymore. Talking about doing tastings offsite, I just want to spend a little bit of time on this one. So one of the biggest successes that we've had when it comes, and most of my marketing dollars in the earlier years was largely spent on doing offsite tastings. Number one, because accounts demanded it, required it, but over time, I was able, Michael had reservations about how much money we were spending on hiring people to be out in the stores doing these tastings compared to the sales that we were getting. But again, your chore is measurement. And by tracking everything from the amount of time that a tasting ambassador spends to how much per hour we were paying them. And trust me, I've tried all kinds of models, a base and a commission, a flat fee. We've tried a lot of different business models. But over time, I have been able to prove consistently that what we're spending on those tasting ambassadors compared to the overall account orders and that branding effort is worth it. Liquid to lips is what works. So for a very long time, up until COVID actually, most of my marketing budget was spent on doing tastings. Advertising releases is another one. Judging competitions, again, establishing yourself as that expert. I know it takes time. I know it takes money, but it connects you with your industry. It connects you with other experts. And it helps establish you as a professional in your industry. Social media programs, Groupons, travel zoos, and I'm going to spend a little bit of more time on this one as well. One of the most successful campaigns that we've ever had are the social media programs. Because it took me a long time to work with them. And I'll tell you why. Because most of these Groupons, the other big one was Living Social. They were eventually bought out by Groupon, Travel Zoo, anything that operates on this level. It took me a really, really long time to learn how to work with them because their model is buy one, get one free. Well, again, we're in the alcohol industry. That's against federal law. And the other issue and challenge that I have is because I sell to the state liquor stores, my contract with them is that I have to sell it to them at the lowest cost than I sell to anybody else. Otherwise, they'll kick me out of the state liquor stores. So I had a lot of challenges and obstacles in learning how to work with these programs. And here's how we succeeded. Michael and I went on a trip to Napa, had a great time out in California, visited a ton of wineries. And we came back home and I said to him, you know what? We didn't go to any single winery and not drop $200. I'm like, why are we not doing the same? Because before we instituted paying for tastings and for samples, we were giving it away for free. And So we put the idea out there and we had a complete backlash. So the New Hampshire Winery Association, most of the wineries had a complete meltdown. They told us we were crazy, that they were never going to charge for their tastings. This was going to ruin the industry, yada, 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 yada. Well, guess what? They're all now doing it. Because here's what we came up with. We said, okay, number one, if you are, excuse me, don't worry, I don't have COVID. It's just something in my throat. If you are going to do a tasting, our state regulations would not allow us to charge for that tasting. And you have to follow the money. It's all about taxes. There was no way for them to control how many tastings you were giving away. Therefore, there was no way to monitor and audit that, which is why they didn't allow it. However, you have to have a glass to do the tasting. So we charged for the glass. Well, once all of the wineries started adopting this, the state came back to us and said, great, we see you found a way around the law. And they slapped a room and boards tax on us. So, but yes, that's one aspect of it. But going back to working with Groupon and Living Social, their model didn't work for us. Once we started charging for the tours and tastings, the secret was creating perceived value. Remember, we were giving that away for free. Now we were in charge of it. Nobody else was in charge of it. And we could control how we put the offers forward. And I will just caution you, be very careful when you work with these programs, because you can lose the shirt on your back. Typically, the success rate that I have found, we have about 10,000 people that come through our tasting rooms through these programs. On average, I have about a $65 upgrade. Now, it means that I have to share the cost of that promotion with them. And typically it's a 50-50. So they're getting 50% of what you're charging for the tasting, but you're only getting a portion of that. So just be very careful. You really need to think through the offers that you do with these folks. Otherwise, you're going to lose the shirt on your back. Secret, perceived value. All right. Tourism, we certainly do engage with the state of New Hampshire when it comes to tourism. And I'm really, really excited at our plans to find and secure the destination location. That's always been a goal of ours, and it's been without reach for 10 years. We haven't been able to find the property or afford one. I'm really excited about the opportunity that we have now, and I'm hoping that we can pull it off. But you definitely want, agritourism is huge, and you certainly are protected by some of the agricultural laws that allow you to do things that maybe some towns won't allow you to do. Oh, and we're having the same issue. Oh, there we go. Let's continue. Nope. All right, moving on. For us, we have pursued organic certification. Again, you want to be thinking about differentiating yourself from your local, state, if not national environment in your industry. We can proudly say we're the only certified organic winery in the state of New Hampshire. Really, do people care? I have my doubts about that. But again, it's a point of differentiation that works in marketing. We do conduct a barrel tour weekend and a national drink wine weekend. We actually just had that this last weekend. Outdoor banners, display boards, and I have a great example to show you a little later on with outdoor banners. We do participate in some big fairs. The biggest one in New Hampshire is called Mead in New Hampshire. We've gotten really, really good at learning how to make, oh my God, it's an exhausting 3-day weekend. But we've learned how to make it work for us financially. And I absolutely love it when Budweiser takes a double table across from me and I serve 4 to 6 times more customers than they do. And the manager's boyfriend comes and lives over at my table. So just saying. We do a collaborative Jingle Bell tour, which is seasonal. And in this particular promotion, what we do is each winery will make Christmas ornaments. And we order those, again, remember, business to business, we order them collectively so we can save money. And then when the visitors come and they come and they tour and they sample, one of the perks that they get is a Christmas ornament. In-home tastings, this is something that I would really like to grow more. I haven't really been that successful in kicking that off. It has many, many challenges, but it's definitely been on our radar. Magazine articles, good luck. I must send out 1,000 press releases, and my success hit rate is certainly not where I want it to be, but that doesn't stop me from continuing to try. Influencer club, this is something that I've been working on. With us having such a huge footprint nationally, it's proven to be more challenging than I thought, because some states you can't charge people for samples. So again, this is something you have to consider. You're giving away product, and how do you get people to commit to doing their postings if you're not paying them to do it? I'm still working on it. I've had some success with it, but it is challenging. We do a full moon reward card. Certainly, I have no problem pimping Michael out for keynote, guest speakers, presenter. And here's one of the success stories, I think, when it comes to this, that I can share with you. With Michael, establishing Michael as an industry expert has rewarded us. We've gotten to travel around the world, being invited to international conferences. And this is where being that expert in your field can really pay off for you. I mean, we've even had some conferences that have paid our travel, our hotel stays. There are perks to that kind of campaign that can prove to be very rewarding. Some of the viral successes that we've seen, I'll talk about specific campaigns that we've done. One of them has been Facebook, where we put out on our Facebook that we bought a lottery ticket, and for everybody that shared the post, that they would share in the winnings if we won. A little word of caution here. This was not entirely approved by the marketing department, but then again, Michael has his own mind and tends to be spontaneous in some of the things that he does. I would just caution you to make sure that in your particular state that you be careful of the legal ramifications. The other big success we had was when the Game of Thrones was running the TV series. When Sunzi made the statement of "You are always welcome at my hearth with meat and mead at my table," we got a huge, huge viral hit with that. One of the other success stories that we have that I will share with you is we once took the plunge and spent $3,000 a month on a billboard. It was right on the border of New Hampshire and Massachusetts, so lots of highway traffic coming and going. We got a lot of responses where people saw the billboard, but I really had no way of tracking that for return on an investment. So when they widened the freeway, we decided, Michael had this brilliant idea. He's like, you know what? We need to get signage up at the back of the building. But we ran into a lot of challenges between the town, the Department of Transportation. We ran into they would only allow us to have 40 square feet of signage, which is basically a delivery sign, at the back of the building when we had so much real estate. So we were really not happy with that. So we decided to make our own banners, and we hired a trailer and we stuck it at the back of one of our units, and we ordered huge banners to go on them. Well, the Phantom Fireworks, which is a huge fireworks company that's in the building next door to us, saw us putting up our signs, and they decided to do the same. But they bought huge banners and hung them off the back of the building. Well, that brought the town inspector out. He gave them a cease and desist in 7 days, and then he walked over to us and gave us a cease and desist in 7 days. And so we challenged him on the verbiage, in the meaning of the verbiage in the bylaws, which says that the sign has to be a permanent fixture, but it just cannot be attached to the building. So Michael went down to the local Home Depot. He bought a pop rivet gun and he pop riveted the sign to the trailer. And when the inspector came back in 7 days, we said, well, fixed. It's a permanent fixture and it's not attached to the building. And he just shook his head and he walked away. This is what guerrilla marketing is all about. 7-sentence strategy. Here's just a simple, easy way for you to remember what you need in your marketing strategy. What is your target market? What is your method? Your competitive advantage? Your benefits? Your purpose? What are your marketing weapons? What are your niche position values? What is your identity? And lastly, what is your budget? That's it in a nutshell. Lastly, I will close with this. Do not do the following. You must get customer opt-in. Do not spam. Do not scare the public. You may come up with an amazing idea, but do not scare the public. Do not do anything that poses danger. And lastly, do not break the law. I once met a wonderful young artist. He was a balloon artist in one of my chamber meetings. So, you know, he's like the clown that goes around and does the blow up balloon thing. And he came up with this brilliant marketing idea where he would make little miniature animals, attach his business card to them, and leave them in people's mailboxes. And it got him sued. So always check your local, state, and federal laws when it comes to advertising, marketing. Make sure you aren't breaking the law. And with that, we'll go back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Bernice. That was incredible. Thanks for sharing all of that information with everybody. We do have some questions for you here. Let's see here from Matthew Ackerman. He's asking, with a large variety of marketing techniques, how do you distinguish which ones are the most effective?
Oh, great question. So I met one of the co-founders and owners of one of the biggest breweries that sold out to their employees. And I asked her the same question. And she said, you know what? It's trial and error, unfortunately. And this is why your measuring your results is so, so important. Because as a small business, you don't have the luxury of having an annual marketing budget given to you that you can just play with and experiment with. Now, that I don't mean to say that you can't experiment and that you shouldn't experiment, but you really, really need to be very judicious. You need to ask the right questions. So I'm going to share something with you, and I really, really hope if I can give you one takeaway tonight. I want us all to participate in this and to propagate what I'm going to tell you next. Whenever somebody comes up to me with a fantastic marketing idea, platform tool, this is something that's going to change my life and expand my sales and increase my business. If they're asking me to output money up front with no guaranteed results, I challenge them. Because one of the campaigns that has worked the best for us, other than tastings, which we control, are the social media programs that basically don't cost me anything upfront. When I sign up with a campaign with Groupon or Living Social or a similar kind of campaign, I'm not parting with any cash before I get the results. I don't mind paying if you're bringing people in my door. I don't mind sharing money with you if you're providing those results. Now, the problem is throughout the advertising and marketing world, they don't operate that way. But I have been successful by using this tactic in saying to, for example, I'll have a ton of radio shows call me or podcasts call me, wanting me to sponsor them. I challenge them and I say, okay, let me tell you what's best worked for me. Social media programs where I'm not fronting the money, where I'm paying you because you're bringing results in the door. And half the time they'll be like, oh no, we can't do that. No, of course they're not going to put their money on the line, but they're expecting you to. But I have been very successful in challenging, for example, radio stations where I say to them, okay, I can't do this. I literally do not have the budget, and I cannot get the budget approved for what you're proposing. Let me propose something to you. If you can come up with a campaign like Living Social or Groupon, and I have found that a lot of them are willing to do that, where they promote, say, for example, a gift certificate to do tastings. They will sell it to their customer and we share the cost. So between tastings and the social media programs, those have proven to be the most successful marketing campaigns that we've ever run. And they're consistent.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the old adage where, a bar or restaurant asks musicians to come in and play at their establishment for free. It'll be great, attention to you, great publicity, great marketing for you. And it's like, yeah, sure. Well, I'm also having a party next week. Why don't you drop off a few dozen buffalo wings and drinks for free for my party? I mean, I'm not going to pay you, but it'll be great advertisement for your restaurant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
See how many people reciprocate that.
And remember what I said before, if you keep giving away, and again, it sounds like an oxymoron, but here's the reality of it. You're going to give away way more free stuff than you ever anticipated. And sometimes it's necessary and it can work for you. But if you keep giving away everything for free, you're going to be out of business.
100% agree. Yeah.
It's not a true partnership. You need to find those marketing platforms where it can be a true partnership. Now, that's not to say that we haven't spent money. I mean, we've tried TV advertising, we've tried radio advertising. We'll never do print advertising again, ever. The little coupon books, all that kind of stuff, absolutely do not work for us. I find that in newspaper advertising or anything in that line, if we're lucky enough to get an editorial, everybody sees it. The minute you switch over to paid advertising, you get no response or very little response. And quite frankly, I've never had the budget for TV advertising to be successful for me, because with TV advertising, the key to success is you have to have the budget to be consistent. And unfortunately, I've never had the luxury of doing that. I have run a TV campaign before. I did cover the cost of the TV campaign, but like I said, I have a really hard taskmaster. And if I'm not bringing in a minimum of double what I've spent, it don't happen again.
For sure. Here's another question for you from Dan from Spacetime Mead and Cider. What do you think the value to outside certification on how you operate your business versus just product specific to attract customers? So in other words, he kind of clarified, like, in other words, like building a reputation on how you deal with customers, employees, or the community, like giving 1% to the planet, certain things like that.
Good question. They both have value and merit. And it's going to depend on what time and effort do you have? Because let's face it, we're all small businesses. We all wear many, many hats. Anytime you're going to consider one direction or the other is how much time and effort does one direction or the other take, and what's the cost involved? If it's not going to cost you a lot to reach out to your local community, and we certainly do, it can get overwhelming. One way that we've been able to cope with that, I'll give you two suggestions. One is be very specific about what you will support. That kind of helps stop the tide of asks that you get. Because once you give away to charities, you're going to be on everybody's list. You're going to have hundreds of people approaching you. And one way to kind of smoothly and politely deal with that is to state on your website, all of your promotional material, that you have a chosen charity that you support. So for example, in our world, in the Mead world, it would be something like, the Save the Bee Fund, right? That's something that's tied to your business. It's integrated in your business, and you by support saying that that's the charity of choice that you support, um, it shows that you are concerned about your resources, and that you're giving back, and that's your choice of charity. So that's kind of one example that you can do to kind of cut down on the asks. The other one, I mean, we certainly support a lot of charities in our local communities. We give out a lot of gift certificates, but how we control it is we will say to people, number one, instead of you just calling me or emailing me, have them make the effort. We say you have to mail in your request, and we need it on your corporate letterhead or your nonprofit letterhead with your tax ID number. And the charitable committee, so we have our staff as part of a charitable committee, we meet once a quarter, and we are allotted X amount of gift certificates to give away. So that's one way that we control that. But to answer the question more broadly, yeah, I mean, it's like I said, with us pursuing and paying for a certified organic certification, is that important? Well, we think it is, because there's only so few places in the world that you can actually get real organic honey from. But in the bigger scheme of things, does the end customer really care about that? Um, maybe not. The jury's still out on that one. Versus, do we have our employees pursue the Cicerone certifications and all that kind of stuff? We haven't gone that route, um, because we focused our energy and efforts on establishing Michael as the face of the company, as the industry expert. So we've put time and money and marketing behind that versus broadening it to our other employees. So I guess you would just have to figure out what's more important to you. For us, it was important because we have a much larger footprint in distribution. But if you're just in your local town or state or county, maybe that wouldn't be the right strategy for you. It would all just depend on what you're trying to personally achieve, I would say. I hope that answers your question.
All right, great. Thank you. Timothy Liber is asking, do you track which product experiences increases sales for each tool that you deploy? So for example, he says, do coupons for customers to come back to the tasting room increase sales for product?
Yes, absolutely. We definitely do track that. Absolutely, they do. Like I said, on average, and the average may have gone a little down over time, but the add-ons that we get when we do something like that is, on average, a customer will spend about $65 a visit.
All right, very cool. Let's see, one last one I got for you here from Matthew Ackerman. He says, oh geez, I asked that one already, sorry. From Dan at Spacetime Mead Insider. He's asking, what are your thoughts on participating in wine festivals?
So we like to participate in wine festivals. I've got to say, for me personally, we like to just be picky about the ones that we do participate in. And we've certainly done some that we'll never do again. And we've done some that we consistently, for example, the San Diego International Beer Festival we do every year. We've been very successful with that. So it's hard because it does boil down to trial and error. I mean, you can certainly do your homework. You can ask other meaderies what's worked for them to share with you on a professional basis. But yeah, there are some that we would not participate in again. And quite frankly, in the state of New Hampshire, going back to the New Hampshire Winery Association affiliation, we have not really, as a state, been successful at our wine festivals. So we've participated in a couple, but it's kind of petered out. So we tend to, because our distribution again is, we have such a broader footprint, we try to pick the ones that have the most impact in the bigger picture of things. But certainly if your target market is in your local town, city, or county, it would probably be a little simpler for you to figure out which of those. I mean, I would suggest look at, number one, you want to definitely look at participation and how many people are going to be attending those fairs. I mean, I've been anticipating going to the Big E for a couple of years. Number one, I keep missing the deadline. There's that. And then it's a huge, huge, huge fair. And the only challenge that I've had is that they want too big a portion. They want too big of a percentage of your sales. So I have to kind of balance, what am I going to anticipate selling? What am I charging? What's my profit margin on that I now have to share with someone? It goes back to the same thing like the social media programs. Somebody else is, you're the one that's making the product. You're the one that has all the costs. And they're going to be taking the same amount of margin as you are. You have to kind of decide how that works for you.
Absolutely. All right, and last one, I promise. Let's see here. Eric Van Ouderen is asking, what are the key arsenal tools for a startup meadery?
Startup meadery. Definitely, you have to have a website. Like I mentioned before, I'm just floored about how many businesses simply don't have a simple website. In today's technology world, the reality is that people live on their mobile devices. Digital is huge, and you have to plan for that. It definitely has to be part of your arsenal. So I'd say anything, definitely a website. You want to make sure that your website, your phone number, your address is on everything that you put out there. Just basic stuff. Make sure that you're linked to the mobile digital map systems, your MapQuests, your Google Maps, your whatever, because you really want to make sure that your customers at a click of a button know how to get to you. And make sure you update those. This is a huge thing, guys. Make sure that if anything changes in your business, you have to do a good job of making sure that the information that's out there on the internet reflects your current status. I mean, I once had somebody turn up at the meadery maybe 5 years after we moved from our garage, where whatever app they were using dropped them at my old house. So you want to make, those are kind of the things you have to stay on top of, like Google yourself, pretend that you're in the customer's shoes so you can see what the customer's seeing. Anytime you change your hours, we just went through this where we had a change, seasonally we change our hours, maybe, staff compliments, whatever. And we discovered that somehow we hadn't updated the Groupons, our social media certificates. We did not update them on the changes. So definitely make sure you do that. I'd say anything free, your local chamber, make sure you have a Facebook presence if you have the time for it, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. But these things, they're going to sap your time and your energy. So how we've coped with it is we kind of divvy it up. Michael's big on Twitter. He's big on Instagram. Both of us are very big on the Facebook. We encourage our staff to be on Facebook, and we certainly give them access and the authority to do that. And that can come back and bite you, so just be careful of that. But definitely those social media programs that are free to you are a must. You have to have a presence out there. As far as advertising, I'd say just be very careful what you spend your money on. I would do all of the free things first, and your website, I would say, would be the priority. And then reach out to your local community and start seeing where you can collaborate business to business, and share the costs. Look for a local, state, town trail, a wine trail, a cider trail, depending on, what your business model is. I'd say those are definitely the essential things that you have to have.
Yeah, we'll also add it is quite a challenge staying on top of the keeping your hours updated on Facebook and your website and on Google. Those are the three I at least normally focus on, and
Right,
I always tend to forget one when we change something, but
right.
we always hear about it. That's for sure. But also, one good tip is on Google, since a good amount of meaderies end up being in industrial areas, mainly due to like zoning regulations, depending on where you live. So, perfect example, Melovino is in the back of a strip mall. Now, if you were to just give everybody our address, it takes them to the front of the strip mall, but our entrance is in the back of the mall, which nobody has any business really driving behind otherwise.
Right.
But and you've been to the meadery, so you know exactly what I'm talking
I
about.
know exactly what you're talking about because I got lost.
It was funny because we would have people bring dates on, for tours and tastings on a Friday night, and we would hear the story over and over, like, "Where are you taking me? It's dark, and all I see is
I'm
dumper."
going into the back dark alley.
Yeah. But anyway, the point of that is on Google. If you sign up to basically own your own listing on Google, you can actually move the pin set for exactly where you're located. And we found that if somebody at least enters your meadery name into Google Maps, for example, it takes them right to that pin on the map where you.
Exactly. That's a great tip, Sergio. That's a great tip.
That made a huge difference for us.
And I think that's one of the challenges that we all face as entrepreneurs, as business owners. It's your time and your effort. And I think going back to the question that was asked, as that business owner, you're going to have to decide, number one, where does your particular personal skills lie? Michael and I make a great team because we're very different from each other and we have very different skill sets. So we can divvy up all of these responsibilities to what we're comfortable and where our skills lie. I am not a detail person. I'm a marketing person. I look at the big picture. I'm not a detail person, whereas he is. So you have to figure out and be honest with yourself. What am I good at? Am I good at working with technology, or do I need to um, maybe try to get an intern or work with a local college? Or is there someone in my family who can help me with this? Because the time and the effort that it takes, there's a new app coming out every day. I mean, sometimes you just can't keep up with it all. When we're talking about social media and digital marketing as a whole, the secret to success is you have to have constant content to remain at the top of the algorithms. If you don't, Facebook, for example, if you're not posting something every day in Facebook, you're not going to come up at the top of searches. So it's figuring out how these tools work. Do you really have the time to figure out how every single new app works if you're going to use it? And if not, you have to pick and choose. Try a few, see what works for you, and stick with it. Because otherwise, you're just going to get totally overwhelmed because the digital marketing these days is overwhelming.
Amen to that. Well, thank you so much for your time and all the information you shared with us here today.
Oh, absolutely. And if anybody has any further questions or you think about something down the line, certainly feel free to reach out to me. Michael and I are very open to sharing our experiences. And I certainly hope that my personal experience and the challenges that I faced has been helpful to you. But certainly feel free to reach out anytime to us if you have any further questions. We're always happy to help.
Very awesome. Thanks again, Bernice. And I hope one day soon we could spend some time together face to face again.
Oh, Sergio, I so look forward to having another Portuguese meal with you, my friend.
Absolutely. It'll be my pleasure. All right. Thanks again, Bernice. We're going to end it for tonight. And thank you, everybody, for attending. And we'll see you all again next week.
Wonderful. Good night.
Good night.